Cheers, guys. One more before the show. Tonight, we are covering the Oasis of the Seas. Bird is actually running the show from the ship, while myself and Matt are here in the studio. We have an interview live on Oasis with Executive Chef Stefan Larrson, who is responsible for all the amazing food on board. Bird will be showing you around and talking about his past week on one of the largest ships in the RCL fleet. We have our cruise news, our photo of the week, another great segment from Lucas, and a look at the amazing balcony cam that Bird has deployed on the ship. Plus the parade. All this and a great big dollop of my happy smiling face. Get ready because this is Cruise Week TV Live Oasis style. Our show this week is brought to you by the folks at Good Memories Travel and by Vmix. Welcome to tonight's show, everyone. We love to talk about cruising here, but as relatively new cruisers, we want to learn all that there is to know before we go on the ships. So on this show, we bring on the experts and ask questions and get answers, and also allow you guys to join in and ask questions to our guests, so that way we can all learn together. I'm Joe, and I've been on just a few cruises so far, but I'm definitely hooked on it, and I'm loving every cruise that I can go on. Bird was super lucky to be invited on Oasis of the Seas this week to talk to the guests and the crew, go on tours in St. Martin, San Juan, and relax in Haiti, and bring you guys plenty of live videos from the experience. And we're going to be talking to him later on, and we're going to have some great shots of the ship, and you can ask him your questions about the ship and the experience to find out what he's learned his second time around on the ship. But before we do that, let's look at the latest cruise news this week. Tampa says no to big cruise ships. Looking to set sail on a cruise out of Tampa? Well, it's not going to be on a mega ship. Not anytime soon, if ever. Taxpayers forked out $150,000 for the Florida Department of Transportation to study possible options to bring the bigger ships into the port that are now limited by the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. 2 years later, nothing has been done with those recommendations. In order for mega ships to get into Tampa Bay, Florida Department of Transportation recommended a new bridge, raising the existing one, or building a new cruise facility on the other side of the bridge. So far, leaders have gone with option 4, which is do nothing, after looking at the cost and inconvenience to drivers who use the existing bridge. Tampa Mayor Bob Buckhorn believes that continuing to cruise along with the smaller ships outweighs the cost to make a change. I think the realization was that we're not going to be able to be a market for those super cruise ships. We have never been and never will be, and that's okay. I think there are plenty of opportunities for mid-sized ships, says Buckhorn. Carnival just announced a new ship, Miracle, that will call the port home year-round starting in 2018. This year, the number of cruise passengers at Port Tampa Bay sank 2%, from 888,343 last year to 867,114, due to more cruisers wanting the bigger ships. Following strong response to its first ever cruise to Cuba, Carnival Cruise Line has added 5 more voyages featuring extended calls in Havana in 2018. The new voyages include 3 5-day cruises to Havana and Cozumel or Key West, a 6-day sailing featuring Havana, Grand Cayman, and an 8-day voyage with stops at Havana, Grand Cayman, and Cozumel. All of the voyages include a day-long call and overnight in Havana, with the 8-day cruise offering 2 full days at the historic Cuban capital. Our cruises to Cuba have been very well received, and we're delighted to provide our guests with additional opportunities to experience and explore this fascinating and sought-after destination, said Christine Duffy, president of Carnival Cruise Line. Earlier this year, Carnival announced a series of 4- and 5-day voyages to Havana that have kicked off in late June. Guests can select from nearly 20 different shore excursion experiences that showcase Cuba's vibrant culture, majestic beauty, and centuries-old architectural landmarks. In an ultimate pop culture meets natural phenomenon moment, the singer Bonnie Tyler will sing her 80s cult song, Total Eclipse of the Heart, on board Oasis of the Seas next Monday, right before the solar eclipse. That is the sailing right after Bird gets off, by the way. The take on the song, a karaoke favorite, will be contemporary and performed with the band DNCE, headed by Joe Jonas. Royal Caribbean had already announced that DNCE would perform on the Total Eclipse cruise, but the addition of Bonnie Tyler was meant to be a surprise for the Oasis of the Seas passengers. But news leaked the other day that the DNCE concert will begin at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, with Tyler set to join in at 1:45 p.m. The ship will then hold a total solar eclipse party that will run during the actual eclipse, which is slated to take place around 3:09 p.m. So, why use a travel agent over booking direct with the cruise line? Well, personal service for one, and cash credit back is another reason. So, whatever cruise that you're planning to be on, give Good Memories Travel a call. You get the same great rates as you would booking yourself, plus you may even get an onboard credit or customer reward. Yes, they actually give you money to go cruise with. They enjoy planning and helping with weddings and honeymoons. Good Memories Travel can also specialize in handling every aspect of your group cruise, family getaway, or that family reunion that you've been wanting to plan. Imagine letting someone else do all the work while you get to relax. Good Memories Travel handles cruises for all cruise lines like Carnival, Royal, MSC, Norwegian, and more, all over the world. They are your one-stop place for everything when you're planning your cruise. They're fully licensed by the CLIA, which stands for Cruise Lines International Association, and they have also been earmarked by Disney. Debbie Smith is part of Cruise Planners, so give her a call to see what they can do for you. It doesn't cost you a thing to look them up and get your best rate. Call Debbie for a free no-obligation quote on your next cruise. What have you got to lose? Debbie can be reached at 321-338-2953, and of course, through their website at goodmemoriestravel.com, and let them know that you heard about them right here on Cruise Week TV. So our photo of the week this week is special. Since we're focusing on the Oasis of the Seas, we reached out to Royal Caribbean Facebook group and asked them for the photo of the week's submissions. Of course, we got a lot of them, and it was very, very hard to pick just one photo, but we had to, and this is it. It was sent in by Jackie Moore, and it shows her celebrating Christmas in style on board the ship. Oh my God, and they have they have everything there, reindeer antlers, elf hat. It's a very cute photo, guys. Thanks for everyone who posted their best cruise photos, showing themselves having a great time on Oasis of the Seas. Next week, we're going to be choosing a new group to pick from, so you better keep your eyes out. Oasis of the Seas brought in a completely different ship design. And until this class of ship, most vessels were designed with the same, with cabins around the outside of the ship and entertainment covered up in the middle. Well, Oasis did keep the cabins on the outside, but it looks like they scooped out the middle. And you have this unique inside cabin with a balcony option, and which is one that Bird was in for the Oasis cruise that he's on right now. You can watch the people inside the ship, and they have areas called neighborhoods. Now, this class of ship is huge. It's like taking Disney World and floating it on water. By the way, no offense to Disney Cruise Lines for saying that, but the ship is massive. In the average 7-day cruise, you cannot do everything. There's just too many restaurants, too many shops, shows, bars, and this is why Bird managed to return to the ship for a second time to complete his tour that he started 6 months ago, which you can see on our Cruise Week on our site cruiseweek.tv under the heading that says Our Adventures. Now, while on board, Bird managed to get an exclusive guest to come on the show tonight, and foodies are going to love him. He's the Executive Chef Stefan Larrson. Welcome to the show, Stefan. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us tonight.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, tell us a little bit about your background for starting off. How long have you been a chef, and how did you end up transitioning from on land to being a chef on cruise ships?
Well, I hope this program is long because that's a long. Anyway, I came from a Swedish-American family. My mother was Swedish, and I ended up going to culinary school in the southern part of Sweden a few years ago. and later came back to America and worked in Florida actually for a few years in small restaurants in the West Palm Beach area. My first cruise ship, I believe, was actually in 1984, and that makes me very, very old, I guess. But I worked a few years on cruise ships, and then I alternated with hotels and restaurants pretty much all over the planet, actually. I was later 6 years in Brazil, 3 years in Indonesia, 2 years in Philippines, a year in Thailand, St. Martin. This sounds like a lot of jumping around, but as a young chef, I learned about cultures, food cultures, people, and a few languages, and it gave me a lot of passion for pretty much a world cuisine all around the planet. So, and then of course I also worked stateside in US. I was in Florida, as I mentioned, South Carolina, Iowa. I ran a small hotel, 40 rooms with 150 employees and 30 cooks in the kitchen. So it was a very special place. I worked as a corporate traveling chef a few years ago for about 3 years for Celebrity Cruise Line. And then I became the corporate chef for Yellowstone National Park, where I actually live right now. And there are hotels and 22 restaurants, but one day the memories from the cruise lines came back, and I was very honored to be offered a job by Royal Caribbean Cruise Line about 3 years ago now. Long
Wow.
story.
Yeah, but it's a very interesting story nonetheless. So now, as an executive chef, though, what are your roles that you have?
Well, thank God I'm not alone here. I have a full staff level here of 360 people in the culinary department. I have 5 executive sous chefs, 15 sous chefs, and chef de parties, manning, I believe we are 26 galleys and kitchens all over the ship, producing great products. I can't say much. I can't say enough about my staff here. They have passion, they have drive, and every day we have new experiences. I mean, this is not a factory work here. We have to have the passion for what we do, and I cannot say enough good things about my staff here. We're having a great time. We have very stressful moments sometimes, as all restaurant businesses have, but this is a well-oiled machinery that we do carry a lot of guests on board, 6,500 up to, but we try to look at each individual guest's expectations, and yeah, I don't know how more to explain it, but it is not like a factory. We look after each individual guest on a daily basis all over the place. So we are having a great time.
So now, when you're telling me about your background, you've obviously been a lot of different places. Is there a specific cultural cuisine that you are most inspired by?
Well, my first in Asia, it's kind of not that easy to get a job in Asia, because the first question will be, do you have Asian experience? And obviously, if you've never been there, you don't have it. But I happened to run into I was at the right place at the right time, and I became the executive chef for Bali, Indonesia's largest 5-star hotel. And I've always been interested in Asian cuisine, actually all over the planet, but that gave me a lot of new views, new experiences, and flavors and taste. That was very interesting, and it gave me a lot of extra passion, so to say. And then later, South America with Brazil. I came to Brazil without speaking a word of Portuguese, and I did culinary shows in Sao Paulo, and it been a journey, that's for sure.
So now, on the ship, do you have control over the specialty restaurants as well as the main dining?
I'm in charge for all restaurants and all, including the crew galley and all food outlets on the ship. Yes, but as I said, I'm not alone. I have a lot of good help.
Wow. So we have a question coming in. This one from Facebook. It's Ken Jordan on Facebook. He wants to know what are the most and least common and popular meats that are served on the ship?
Well, we have a great steakhouse on board the shop's restaurant where we have a fantastic, an all-American steakhouse, and almost solid booked every night. I don't exactly know how many seats we have in this restaurant, but we serve up to 250 dinners a night, and great feedback from the shop steakhouse. Otherwise, we serve steaks in many restaurants around there in different themes and so on. We also have teppanyaki, the sushi restaurant. We serve steaks all over, but a strict steakhouse, that would be shops.
Very nice. So overall, how much input do you get into the design of the food on board?
Of course, a ship in this size has set menus. I mean, the supply chain is quite big. We can't just turn around the next day and change the menus in the main dining rooms, but we get great support from the Miami office. We have traveling chefs. I also visit Miami and have my inputs. Royal Caribbean is a unique company. They listen to of the feedback from. We have a lot of say-so and input. So it is not like I don't know how I should explain it, but there is companies out there that it is this way and that's it. That's not working with Royal Caribbean. We have a lot of fantastic support and many ideas that we of course find and discover on the ships. They transfer to the office, and then we might make them fleet-wide. Or buffets, for example, in the Windjammer, we have a lot of freedom to come up with new concepts, and basically we listen to the guests and we get feedbacks and we try to implement as much of the great feedbacks we get.
Wonderful. Now we have another question that came in from Facebook. This one is from Cherise Colley. She wants to know, do you get to cook any more yourself, or do you have a lot of responsibility just to overlook all the areas?
Production-wise, not much, but I go in and I help up in restaurants on a daily basis. There is busy times when I might step in and help. I also train the new crew members, new concepts that is coming from the office. So I do some cooking, but in this size operation, I mean, I'm not the full-time cooking, that's for sure. I have many places to look after, and so I don't know how to answer that question totally, but I do as much cooking can, but I have a lot of other things to manage here, that's for sure.
So now, when you were a restaurant, like you said, you worked as a chef in stateside. You worked in Brazil. You worked a lot of different places. Do you find many differences between working at restaurants on land versus working at restaurants on at sea?
Well, one thing that have helped me tremendously is that I have been in, as I said, all corners of the world and actually been living there. And we have an international crew on board the Royal Caribbean, and that's the knowledge, or a fairly good knowledge of their culture, their habits, their languages, their food cuisines. Of course, is helping me here. We have an international clientele here. We have guests from all over the world, and we have staff. I mean, in Delhi here, we probably have 40, 50 different nationalities, and it helps me to be able to relate to them, to put them in the same language, to understand them. So my world travel have absolutely helped me to work on a cruise ship in this in a cruise ship operation. Absolutely.
So talk to us about some of the different challenges that you face preparing meals for, well, what did you say? The ship holds up to 6,500 guests, right? What challenges do you face, like trying to meet 6,500 guest expectations on a daily basis?
Prior to cruises, we get pretty good information from shoreside about demographics. If we have a certain guest from groups, for example, from Argentina, from China, different parts of the world, we try to adjust and we will adjust certain things on the ship to make everybody get the most out of their cruise. This cruise we have a lot of Jewish guests, and I know I'm not a rabbi, but I worked with kosher kitchens both in Fontainebleau and Miami, and I also worked very closely together on cruise line with kosher and Sweet Life, and I can relate to the guests, and I know what they expect. So with some information that we get each and every week about our different kind of guests around, we can do some adjustments, and we also have, even we are a large scale producing culinary department, but you know, food is not like one size fits all. Maybe one guest feels that the coffee is too strong, and one guest says the coffee is too weak. I mean, we try to be there for each individual guest. And also, I encourage all my chefs, exec chefs, sous chefs, and CDPs, chef de partie, to be out in the public as much as possible, to visit with the tables, to listen to guests, to get feedbacks. And this gives us a lot of inspiration. And tonight I probably have 25, 30 galley culinary workers out visiting with the tables and really getting a lot of great feedback, and that's nice.
Well, I can honestly say this from my experience on Royal Caribbean ships. If the way you guys meet individual expectations, or the way you met mine when I was on Royal Caribbean ships, it was phenomenal. So if you're anything like the ships I've been on, I'm sure you are. It's been phenomenal. So now we have another question that came in was, how can someone who aspires to be a chef on a Royal Caribbean ship apply to or go about becoming a chef on a Royal Caribbean ship?
You know, we have great culinary workers that did not go through the traditional 1-2 year culinary school. My own son, for example, he became chef of the year twice in Midwest. He had a parent that did not have the economy to put him into expensive culinary school, so he worked himself up by working with great chefs. He was in Monaco, he was in Chicago, he was in Boulder, Colorado. So it's not 100% necessary to go to a culinary school. Of course, it helps to have the basics, but we have many crew members that work themselves up and today hold positions as executive chefs or many other positions around. But I would encourage anyone to, with a passion for culinary work and at sea, to. We have a human resources in Miami, and I guess Miami offices and human resources would be the road to go. But we don't have to stare ourselves blind on culinary schools. Great experience makes up for a lot of this here, and as you know, we have crew members from the whole world, so in all categories, but they have one thing in common: they have passion for what they do, and that shows on the daily work they do here for us.
So do you guys have a chef's table like they do on Carnival ships as well?
Absolutely. On deck 17 in the coastal lounge, we have a chef table where we serve multiple courses. We have an executive sous chef that presents each meal, wine pairing and a wine flight with a meal. I try to stop by there every night. I'm not directly producing or cooked meal, but I'm stopping by there and saying hello to the guests and answering questions and so on. And it is very popular. We're fully booked in the chef table just about every night, so great experience. And is, of course, away from the large dining rooms with the large crowds in the dining rooms. We have many small specialty restaurants where the guests can really enjoy their evening, and the chef table is an excellent choice.
We have another question that came in for one of our viewers. Chuck Carmichael asks, do your chefs rotate around through the different venues on the ship?
Absolutely. We encourage cross-training. I mean, Royal Caribbean is building new ships just about every year here. We have a demand of cross-trained staff. next year we have another beautiful Oasis class ship coming up, and being cross-trained, you can go up the ladder, become a CDP, a chef de partie, or a sous chef, or an executive sous chef, and an executive chef. That means that you need to have an all around experience from many different areas of the culinary operation, which is huge, as you understand. And only by being cross-trained you can make your move to step up in the ladder and get more responsibility, and not only by yourself, but also for your co-workers around you. So yeah, we have cross-training going on each and every day, and training. I mean, in this business, you learn as long as you live, and that's the beauty with it. We learn things every day as long as we live in the culinary business, and that's the passion that gives us a lot.
So now, was there ever a time where working as a chef or executive chef on for Royal Caribbean, has your job ever become somewhat overwhelming? I know, like, cooking for 6,500 people, I might be overwhelmed at some point.
Not lately. No, in my past life, yes. I mean, I was young once upon a time too, and I think that everyone that worked in a culinary business have a panic mode. I mean, I remember a few, but not here in Royal Caribbean. This, as I said, is a very old machinery. We have history. We have systems in place that will remove most all dramas, so to say. So not here, as I can remember here in Royal Caribbean, but in my past life I had my moments when I have been really worried in the kitchen. That's for sure.
That happens, and I understand that. I've been worried in the kitchen cooking for only 6 people. So it happens.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So
Yeah.
now, do your chefs move between ships, or do they stay on the same ship?
We have some do. And for example, next year when we have a new ship coming out, of course, Royal Caribbean will select some crew members from the fleet of the Royal Caribbean fleet to man the new ship, and of course there will be a certain amount of new hires. But you know, Royal Caribbean want to keep the standard of Royal Caribbean, so we can't just put in all new hired people into a new ship. So there is ships, but luckily enough, Royal Caribbean have many ships, and it does not have to be that we are emptying out one ship to make the other. Smaller cruise lines can have more of issues. If they have 2-3 cruise ships and building a new ship, then I have been in that situation in my life, and that can be a worry. But Royal Caribbean is a big, stable company, so we have much of that kind of dramas. But there is people that want to move up and do something new, and being able to put on the resume that they open a brand new cruise ship. And of course we encourage all those crew members to be able to do those kind of to move on to the next ship, so to say. But otherwise we have our core here on the Oasis, and maybe a few crew members will move to the next new build, so to say.
So now we had another question come in. This one came from Michael Wilcox. He wants to know, how much training do chefs get before they actually get onto the ships?
We do not have our... Yes, we do. Wrong. We have some training programs in Asia, in India and Philippines. Not here in the Western hemisphere, but we do have some Asian, Indonesian and Filipino training ground for crew members. But here in Europe we do not have this here, and not in the United States, no.
So we got another question. This one came in. Well, Matt wants to know, do you cook any exotic dishes for regular dining?
Oh yeah, we have plenty of exotic dishes. I mean, we have a world clientele here, and we have varieties from every corner in the world. I mean, I don't know if there's any cuisine from any country that we don't represent, but we have the European culinary experience course. We have Asia. We have the regional U.S. favorites. We have South American cuisines. We have. This is a world cuisine ship here, so we do truly.
So how much food do you think is consumed during a typical 7-day cruise?
This is a little bit hard for me right off the bat, but I know that we serve between 50 and 60 plated meals per day. So pounds or kilos or pallets, I can just tell you that we have enormous storerooms down on deck number 2. We have loading from approved suppliers, of course. Oasis of the Seas do all the purchasing and all the supply from U.S. port, from Cape Canaveral. And we have their acres of storerooms. We don't mix the eggs with the fish and this and that. We have a full crew down in the provisions that taking care of the products. And down there we have vegetable sanitation, vegetable preparation. We have butcher shops, we have fish rooms. So we get the clean products up to the galleys from deck number 2. So that way we also can assure ourselves that we have a great standard in the sanitation. We don't bring up cardboard boxes or anything like that up to the galleys. So we have these preparation areas down in deck number 2. But we work with approved that has been inspected shoreside, and but the amount of food I can't even guess.
So can you tell us a little bit about the sort of professional backgrounds that Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines looks for in hiring their chefs?
Well, first of all, if I may talk for myself personally, I really appreciate crew members or cooks, young cooks, with a passion, with a can-do attitude, that is service-minded, and excuse me, that I think this in some cases go above long experience, because when we have the passion for what we do, willing to learn, and when we love to see smiles on people in the dining room, that goes a long way. Attitude, personality, and spirit, I don't think can be taught. Either you have it or you don't. Skills can be taught, and we train the skills here every single day of the week. I don't know how that answer was, but that's my personal opinion. And we have crew members here with less experience that have maybe worked in small restaurants back home, but they get selected because of their passion, their drive, and the spirit in the culinary profession.
Well, I thought that was a very good answer. Another question that came in from Jake Martinez. He wants to know, do you serve any dishes inspired by the ports that you guys visit?
Yes, we do. We visit many beautiful countries, places, islands in the Caribbean, and we have Caribbean nights, we have Latino nights, Mexican nights. We try to a little bit match them up with our itinerary. So the Jamaican night, we might have a beautiful Jamaican buffet up in Windjammer. Now, when it comes to the main dining room, as I said, we're a little bit more stable. We might change them on a couple of times a year, main dining room menus. We listen to feedback, and the office listens to feedbacks from guests. But with our buffets and our special arrangements around the ship, we have a lot of flexibility, and we try to match those with different parts of the world that we might visit. Over in Europe, for example, the ship might have Italian nights, and we do too, by the way. But they might emphasize on certain ports in the itinerary that give the guest a flavor of the country where they visit, if you know what I mean.
I do indeed. We don't want to take too much of your time up tonight, Stefan, but we have time for just one more question. Our last question before we wrap this up: are certain times of year more difficult to prepare for food-wise than others? Like, for example, sometimes you have Christmas or Thanksgiving that you're preparing for. Are those more difficult to prepare for?
Christmas we have, of course, a lot of added Christmas and Hanukkah meals over Christmas. It demands an extra push from the staff, but the reward at the end of the day is smiling faces in the dining room. So Christmas is a very heavy season to work on cruise ships, and we do a lot of extra arrangements, buffets, Christmas buffets, decoration all over the place. But otherwise, times like 4th of July, Thanksgiving, of course, we serve thousands of portions of turkey on board, of course. That is routine for us. We enjoy it, and it gives us a break in the daily productions to have these special arrangements throughout the year. Christmas is heavy, but we manage, and the smiles and the appreciation and the satisfaction from the guest is our reward. But Christmas is heavy. The other seasons, not so much. We have the routine, and I think we handle it very well.
Well, I'm sure you do. If it's anything like the ships that I've been on, I'm sure you handle it marvelously. I've never, like, anytime I've been on a Royal Caribbean ship, which has been twice, but still, it's been, like, I've had great times, and especially I found the food to be amazing. So, Stefan, I know that the time that you put in as an executive chef has to be very very long. So I don't want to keep you any longer, but I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight for this interview. It's been very informative, and as personally for me as a foodie, I was excited for it. So thank you so much.
I hope I see you here soon on board the Oasis of the Seas, and thank you very much for inviting me. My pleasure. Thank you.
If Bird will let me go on a cruise, I will definitely see you on Oasis of the Seas.
I will tell him, okay?
Oh my goodness, what a wonderful interview that was. So guys, this show and all the wonderful abilities that we have to bring in guests remotely wouldn't be possible at the level that we do it without Vmix. Vmix is the live production software that powers our live show and many, many other high-end productions. From church services to football games, more and more live productions run on Vmix. What our producer Bird really liked when he was trying to improve our show was that they give you a full 60-day trial of everything. That way you can test it out risk-free before you buy for a full 2 months. And then they have systems starting from just $350. If you're going to do any sort of serious live streaming, you need Vmix. Try it at vmix.com today. So last week, Matt introduced a new segment to the show, and this week, I get to do the same. It's only fair. So each one of my shows, I'm going to be touching on the history of cruise ships in a not boring way. You know, this isn't your typical history class, okay? So, for our history this week, since our show this week is about the Oasis of the Seas, I figure we're going to talk about the history of the Oasis of the Seas. So Royal Caribbean's Oasis of the Seas was ordered in February 2006. The ship was designed under the name Project Genesis, and construction began in November 2007 in Finland. The name Oasis of the Seas resulted from a competition in 2008 which had 91,000 entries. All seemed to be running smoothly until the first float out of the ship, when the tugboats that were pulling the ship away from the dock failed to control the ship. This unfortunately resulted in the port side of the Oasis of the Seas colliding with the dock, and in turn resulted in some cosmetic damage and minor damage to the hull, which was repaired promptly. Luckily, the incident did not affect the final delivery date of the ship. Oasis of the Seas was completed and released to Royal Caribbean by October 2009. That same month, the vessel departed from Finland for Port Everglades in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Oasis of the Seas arrived 2 weeks later in November, and her maiden voyage began on December 5th, 2009. Since then, Oasis of the Seas has had 2 dry dock refits. The first was in 2011, where they added the DreamWorks experience, allowing guests to interact with some of their favorite DreamWorks characters, and a second dry dock refit in 2014, where the ship was modified to support dynamic dining by dividing the main dining room into 3 separate dining rooms: American Icon Grill, The Grand, and Silk. In addition, the Broadway-style production of Hairspray was replaced with the hit musical Cats. So all this week, you've been seeing our producer on the Oasis of the Seas and at the ports in St. Martin, San Juan, although that one was rained out, and Labadee. He's been live streaming a lot, and he has also deployed the balcony camera that you could move all around and play with. Bird, this is your second time on the Oasis. How did it feel to be returning?
Oh my god, it was great. It was almost like coming home. I think this is the first cruise that I've been on where I've been back on a ship. So it's kind of, I knew the layout. I knew what there was. I even knew some of the crew. Yeah, I would come across, hey, wait, I knew you from last time. So I had a great time. Plus the ship is so big. It's like doing Disney. You can't do everything in one day, just like you can't do this in one cruise. So a lot of stuff that I had seen on the last cruise but didn't get to. So I managed to try and get to some of that this time. And of course have a lot of fun. And I always enjoy going on the cruises because I get to talk to the crew. That is my absolute favorite thing to do, is get behind the scenes, chat with the people, chat with the amazing people that make this. Always amazed how their experiences are, their knowledge of their areas. As you just saw, talking to our executive chef Stefan. I mean, he's been around the world cooking. I mean, you could see that passion when he was talking. I see that throughout, like, all the crew members. There's someone on shots. I've talked to the people on the spas, stuff like that. I see that passion all around, and it's just great.
So tell me, was the Starbucks crew the same? Because I noticed that you have a nice Starbucks cup in your hand, and they seem to have your drink order ready. As I've heard anyway, they have your drink order ready the minute they see you coming.
Starbucks? What's Starbucks?
I
don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about.
See
Starbucks.
I can see the
yes. Yeah. I have it. Where you get the idea that there's a Starbucks on board? Not at all. If you notice right down there behind me, it's actually Starbucks, and what you've actually got, it's a full Starbucks. So if you have a Starbucks gift card, that will actually work there. All the Starbucks points and stuff work on there. But yes, I mean, as you know, running around doing a lot of interviews and stuff takes coffee, and they have a midnight mocha. So, so yeah, I've been ordering the same thing, and very quickly they, and again, it's that same higher level of standard that you see throughout the ship. Within a couple of days, me chatting to them, they knew my order. I mean, they were starting to make it. They're like, oh, hi, do you want your usual? Yeah, boom, 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 done. We did our midweek show right by Starbucks on Wednesday, and they handed me a drink just across there while I was doing the show. So having a really good time.
So now tell us, like, because you're where you are right now, you're like on the balcony, kind of overlooking the Starbucks, overlooking that whole area. It's just, and it's beautiful. It's really a really nice place to be. Where's your room located? Is your room located in one of those decks above you, like where you can overlook that as well, or where? Tell us about that.
Yeah, as you can see on the screen behind you, you're actually looking at the area where our room is located. The ship is divided into what they call neighborhoods, and we had a room overlooking Central Park, which again is what you're seeing right now on your screen. Central Park is just like going into an upscale neighborhood where you would have like little bistros, a cafe, stuff like that. It's beautiful. And then you've got shops and specialty restaurants on the lower level. And then up above, you've got about 6 or 7 levels of balconies. One of the beauties about this ship is it's like they carved out the middle of the ship, and they have balconies that are facing inwards. Now, when you're walking in this area, the first thing I thought when I was going on the ship is, surely all that gets trapped. I'm sure they air condition it, because it's beautiful, about 74, 75 degrees all the time down there. At night you have string quartets playing down there. You actually have birds that are living in the bushes. All the plants there are real. It's not fake. They have gardeners that are tending to the plants, and there's like these little areas. One thing I love about the ship is the more you look, the more little areas you find. Just concentrating on that neighborhood, there's little secluded places you can sit and talk quietly. When you're sitting on the balcony, you can overlook that area. Very peaceful, very tranquil, very nice.
So now we had a question come earlier, like from David Stewartson. He wants to know if the Oasis is similar to the Harmony.
I believe so, yes. They are sister ships. I got you. Don't quote me on this because I'm not 100%, but I think it's the Allure, the Harmony, and Oasis. All the similar designs. There are small differences between them. I believe the Allure has like a not water slide. It's a slide, but it's not water. And little things like that. But yes, the general design is the same.
So now we have questions also coming in from Facebook, of course. Ken Jordan wants to know. Ken Jordan wants to know, how many restaurants have you eaten on the ship? How many restaurants have you eaten at on the ship?
Hey, Ken. Let's see. We've eaten the main dining room. We've done that. The specialty restaurant we've eaten in, we've only done one, and that is Sabor, and that is like a Mexican restaurant. It's normally an upcharge restaurant, so you pay a little bit more, but not as if you would go pay a full price to a big restaurant on land. And I don't like guacamole, I'll say that, or I didn't. I went with Matt Hotchberg's recommendations. He raves about Sabor, so I'm like, okay, we've got to be on here. I'm going to try it out. And Matt had suggested 3 different things. He says, you've got to try the guacamole. You've got to try, it's a jalapeno stuffed chicken, or the chicken is stuffed into the jalapeno, then they wrap the whole thing in bacon. I mean, that was amazing. Ward, who came with me, was chowing down on these things like they were going out of business. And then I had the fish tacos. Now, the fish tacos I wasn't too impressed with. The fish you have to kind of flake up yourself, and I would have liked to like all mixed in, but it's like family style dining. So you order 1 appetizer, 1 entree, and 1 dessert. But they keep replenishing your plate. You don't run out. So if you want 10 buckets of guacamole, you can have 10 buckets of guacamole. If you want 300 of the jalapeno wrapped chicken, you can have that. So they don't run out. And trust me, you can't really eat everything. There is a lot of food coming at you. So it's really good. And then let's see, where else? Oh, yes. Park Cafe is the little bistro on... Am I making you drool? I think I'm making you drool.
A little bit, but if you can cut the camera away from me while I'm drooling, that would be wonderful.
I know, I'm in control.
Excuse me.
But the Park Cafe is really good. It's like... there we go. It's like a little bistro area, and they do this beautiful roast beef sandwich with gravy in. That was really good. But one thing I found there is right behind me, kind of over there, there's a pizza area. However, that's not the good thing. Across from there, there's another cafe, and that is open 24 hours. And I've been doing a lot of editing on the ship, so I'll be working like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And they do these weird little sandwiches. They're like a finger sandwich with pepperoni and ham and stuff. And they've just been delicious. And then they do I'm really making you drool. And they have these like little cheesecake popsicles on a stick. So I will get like 3 or 4 of the sandwiches and the cheesecake popsicles, take it back to my room, and while I'm working, I will eat those. Oh, I'm sorry. So that's basically the places I've eaten. There's, I believe, 24 or 26 different restaurants and places to eat on the ship. So again, you couldn't do every restaurant in a cruise if you ate at a different place every single day. And we've also ate at the Windjammer, which is a buffet. We all actually preferred that because one thing you don't realize is a lot of the same food that is served in the main dining room is also served up there. It's just more buffet style. You go through and you get to choose what you want. And for both people that have been following our live stream, we got to go behind the scenes earlier today and go through the galley, talk to the people who work down there, everyone from the dishwasher right up to chefs, and find out how that works. If you did miss that, we've all got that recorded, and I've already posted to Facebook, but we'll be posting a lot of those to our site coming up next week.
So, am I to understand you have not eaten at every single restaurant at least twice during this cruise? Yes or no?
No. Fortunately, I have not. Sadly.
Well, that means I lost $20. Thanks a lot. That's okay.
So I've got to say they have been extremely hospitable. As you can see, they've set us up in our own area to do our show overlooking the Royal Promenade, and there's going to be a big parade starting at 8 right after. That's why we had to move our show an hour earlier, because all the senior officers, including Stefan, are involved in the parade. That's why we had to move it earlier. But you see, you have another question coming?
Yes, we have another question that came in from Kevin Loubier. He wants to know how many pools does the ship have, and how do the water attractions compare to other ships?
Good question. If you've got kids, on this ship there's not as much. There's no water park. There is a water area for kids. So you've got like an area with like water fountains and some kiddie stuff, but there's no big water slides on the ship. So if you've got like an early teen, they're gonna be too old for the little kiddie splash area, but there's no like water park for them. So there isn't that. However, the pools, they went rather than one big central pool, because of course, like I said, they've hollowed out the middle. They've gone with 3 or 4 smaller pools around the top area. What would be the Lido deck? They've got pools almost like a little beach area, and they have quite a lot of hot tubs. I was surprised by the number of hot tubs they have. Right on this area, they probably have about 4 hot tubs, but that's not the most of it. If you head to the back of the ship, it's an adult-only area. It is a solarium, and it is absolutely amazing. As there they've got, I believe, 2 big hot tubs and then a big pool in the middle, and it's semi-open. They have like the glass areas, but the windows are slanted in such a way that it gets a natural airflow. So when the ship is going, it actually keeps it nice and cool. So you got the sun's rays coming down on you, but you have that natural flow of water that is, flow of air that is keeping you nice and cool.
There's a parade starting in, oh my gosh, 7 minutes. That's
Yes, there is. Yeah, as you can hear, it's getting kind of loud out here. So what's going to happen is they do a big parade at the end of the cruise. Everybody's involved. So we're also going to live stream that right after this. So you guys get to watch. We have our cameras set up. You guys are going to be able to see that. So we might want to go to Lucas's segment, and so we don't go into the parade.
We might want to do that. Yeah. Well, Bird, thank you for talking. I appreciate you talking with us. I'm sorry I lost my $20 bet.
Hey guys, it's comedian Lucas Bone. I just got back from the Norwegian sky and we went to Havana, Cuba. My wife and I took an excursion offered on the ship called Colonial Havana via American Classic. We had our own American Classic car, talked to our tour guide, asked her some questions. Here's what she had to say about Cuba.
All right, so Natalie, how did you get involved with the job as a tourist in the tourism industry in Havana, Cuba?
Okay, so first of all, this is like a trend right now. Everyone wants to go and do tourism in it, especially in Havana, because being the capital, we get more and more tourists every year. Now, I studied for 5 years foreign languages, but the profile was to be a teacher. So I was supposed to be an English or French teacher. But in Cuba, teaching is very bad paid. I don't know if that's all over
It's
the
the
world.
same in the United States too, don't worry.
So it was really bad paid, so I decided, okay, what else can I do? I had the language, and I just applied for Havana Tour.
There you
It's
go.
my agency. It's one of the biggest tourist agencies in Cuba. So I just applied for the agency and I got the job. And I have to say, I've been doing this for 2 years now. But since American tourism come more and more here, especially with the cruise ships, it's getting like more and more good for the people. So we get more money because of tourism. Tourism is our main economic income. So we get a lot of money from tourism. And it's very good. And I have the chance to meet people. I love it just because of that. So I can teach. I'm teaching though. I'm not teaching at a school, but I'm teaching you guys about Cuba. So that's okay. Okay, thanks.
If you like classical American cars, this is the tour for you. Lots of selections from about 1952 to 1959. If you want a different way to see Havana, Cuba, I also highly recommend this tour. It's a one-of-a-kind tour. Check it out.
I had horrible luck when I travel. I was in Myrtle Beach a couple weeks ago, almost got pulled over by a bicycle cop. Yeah. I say almost because I didn't stop. And he got mad. He was like, I have authority! And I was like, come on, jerk, you don't even have keys. I feel bad for bike cops. You know, there are places in North Carolina where if you're a bike cop, you can't carry a gun. Do you know that's a horrible rule? Do you know how hard it is to pull over a car full of like 8 drunken people when all you have is a Huffy 3-speed and a light? Those cops have to improvise. They're like, hey, stop sign, stop sign. Don't you get back, stop! Hey, stop! I'm really one of the people in the back of the car. I'm like, dude, there is a bike cop behind us. Quick, find a hill.
Lucas, thank you so much. That was great and so funny, and I definitely look forward to seeing what your next adventure is. God, that was good. All right, next week's guest is Jen Baxter, Carnival Cruise Director on the Legend, and she'll be joining Matt to talk about her time on the ships, her rather cold trips to Alaska, and tips and tricks for that ship. So be sure to check that out next week on Cruise Week TV. It's getting close to time to wrap it up, so I want to thank Cruising Cat from RC Periscopers Group for helping us out in the Periscope chat room and keeping order over there. If you guys want to see a lot of live streams from people on ships, head over to the RC Periscopers Group on Facebook for a list. And also, if you know someone who's going to enjoy watching the show as much as you do, be nice and share this link to their Facebook wall. That way they can enjoy the show too. Also, please like and, bam, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just doing that alone really helps our show, and it also lets our sponsors know that, and it helps our sponsors to support us, and it helps keep the show alive each week. So I hope you guys have all enjoyed the Oasis of the Seas and the fun segments in the show. Don't forget, we're going to have a lot of videos to post on the Cruise Week TV website in the next few weeks from Bird's Trip, so be sure to check all those out. Matt is going to be back next week, and he's going to have a packed show, but until I see you all again, stay fun, cruisers. Later!